Hi, this is Dave Danielson, and we're here at the Bedford Town Library where we're discussing the 101 project. And with me is Greg Tedeschi, who's with the Bureau of Construction for the DOT, Department of Transportation. What have you learned today?
I've learned that the abutters are definitely passionate about their properties, which I would be as well. They had very educated questions. We were able to field those questions quite well, I believe, and I look forward to working with each and every one of them and having a successful project.
Has that been commercial as residential? Have both of those abutters said the same?
Absolutely.
Or had the same interest?
They both did. Some of the commercial abutters had questions pertaining to their signage, making sure that people can maintain access to their businesses. A lot of the residential abutters were more concerned about how long we're going to be working in front of their house and potential impacts that might happen to their property.
Right. And there's some things I think, I was talking to some folks who, and I think probably that you can't answer, is they were concerned about perhaps infrastructure issues that may occur because of the construction. Water disruption, for example. Have we got any kind of, obviously you can't give assurances on something like that, but do we have any kind of indication that the ground is capable of doing what it is doing?
I believe in the design process, all those concerns should have been taken care of, and I hope that happened. I'm pretty sure, confident that happened. I did have a couple questions of that nature that I couldn't field today because that's not my expertise, and I would never comment out of my knowledge base. But yeah, I understand their concerns. Okay. They're valid concerns.
We'll just have to wait to see how things evolve as the project goes along.
Absolutely.
But relative to what we just spoke of, the project has had phases, right? This is not something that's just going to occur. You've had phases that you've developed over time. Can you go through those for us, and maybe we can even use the map if you need it?
Yeah, sure. The project, from a construction standpoint, we're going to take it piece by piece. We have to wait for a lot of the utilities to get moved before we can get in there and really start working. I anticipate the utilities to start. They've already done some relocation on Wallace Road. They will be working also along 101 here in the next couple weeks. And once those utilities get moved, the contractor can get in there and get moving. But it's not going to be like everything's, the entire corridor is going to be disrupted all at once. It will be broken up into segments and phases, and kind of like a train marching down the road. And
well, relative to how it's going to be built, is it going to go from beginning to end, or do you actually have sections that you'll probably build? Would you build the end first, for example, and then go back out to the first?
Yes, there are certain sections and segments that we need to work on first. Primarily the detention basins, we'll get those in first. The thought process behind that is we can treat water during construction. We have a place to store it. So it's not going to go off into the three brooks on the project. Right. So that's the priority right off the bat this fall. Those detention basins will be excavated and built.
I think most folks, would be fair to say, don't understand the importance of making sure you take care of the water on construction of the road, because when they start to talk about, I know when I first learned about drainage, I thought drainage was the side of the road.
Right.
Little did I know about the impact of the water underneath the road.
Correct.
So you have to take a look at that as well.
Well, yeah, more so what we would be treating is any type of large rain event. If we have disturbed soil, we don't want that disturbed soil running off into the natural resources surrounding the project.
Okay,
yeah.
Good, very good. Let me ask you, go back, is on the movement of the poles and the infrastructure.
Yes.
That was supposed to happen this month, I guess, and it sounds like it's right on schedule.
Yes, it is on schedule. The utilities have come in and they've done some work on Wallace Road, and again, they will be Continental, and the DOT has given access to the utilities kind of ahead of schedule, so they can come in and start relocating their poles to hopefully expedite the entire process.
I had a question asked of me, which I think it was a surprise to me.
Okay.
So it's probably going to be a surprise to you.
I'll see what I can do.
Someone said, so we're going to be bringing gas and water all the way out to the Amherst town line.
Okay.
Through this construction, because we're going to have the road dug up. And I had to say, no.
No.
No, that's not going to happen.
That's not going to happen.
No. And they asked if it would be done in my lifetime, and I said, not in my lifetime. It will probably be done. And the biggest issue is water, because one of the questions you and I spoke about earlier was, why is it going to stop on Wallace Road? In fact, someone did ask that. Why we're going from 4 lanes back down to 2 lanes?
It's money. It all comes down to money. If people are interested, they can look at the 10-year plan and they can talk to their legislators and get projects that they want to see happen on the 10-year plan. But it all comes down to money.
Right. In fact, this next piece, I guess, will be between the Black Forest out in Amherst, I think, was where the last improvement coming eastbound.
Yep.
And here, this is going to be the last section between here and there that probably has to be addressed now, it would seem.
It would seem. I'm not too familiar with that. I'm not in the design portion of the DOT, right. So I can't.
Again, saying, when will it be done? Exactly.
Yeah, I don't know.
Exactly. So while we're talking about this project, Greg, we should invite Jerry Mayer from Continental Paving. Jerry, welcome to the conversation, and you've been here listening to folks talk.
Yep.
What's your role going to be, Jerry, as we start the project out?
Basically, I'm the project manager for Continental Paving, and I basically do a lot of the paperwork and ordering materials and just trying to help from the office rather than being in the field every day. We'll have a project superintendent that'll be here every day working with Greg, and I work through them to help the project move on.
Keeping the project on time and on goals,
yep.
Right? And we wanted to talk too about continuing that phasing if we could.
Yes.
And Jerry, you can stay with us if you'd like. But can you roll the project with us and tell us each phases we're going to go through? People should understand we're at the Wallace Road end.
We are.
There are 2 ends of the project, Wallace Road being one.
Yes.
And then the other down at Constitution Ave, 114.
Correct.
So can you bring us through the phases?
So this project really won't be built from Wallace Road to 114 in a continuous train because there's a lot of, like I said before, utilities in the way. And so when a utility moves out of the way in a certain area, we may jump in there and do work in that area because we can't do it somewhere else along the corridor. But generally speaking, how the phasing will work is we'll do temporary widening on one side of the road and push traffic to that side where we just did temporary widening so we can work on the opposite side of the road. Once that side gets built, then we'll shift traffic over to that side, build the side that traffic was originally on,
right.
And then the final phase would basically be paving the entire thing and putting curbing up and down the entire corridor.
Well, I think what's interesting probably to some people, and it was to me when I first started, I think most people see a construction project, they assume that it's going to start at the front end and just work its way to the end.
Right.
We were talking earlier that that's not necessarily the way this is going to go, and you just inferred that.
Yes.
That it's going to be built, and then if you see an opportunity to do something else quicker, you're going to move down and try to take care of that.
Correct.
And eventually it'll get built out, but not necessarily in logical progression, sequential. Yeah,
correct.
Thanks.
Correct.
What kind of challenges does that present to you, Jerry?
I mean, basically, that's the way we have to work it because we can't work where the utilities need to be. The main thing we have to do to start out with is to build these detention ponds, and in building those, we need that material up and down the west side of the road. Then once we kind of get that, the next big challenge we've got is where I call it the swamp, up beyond Meeting House Road. We've got to dig some muck out of that area, and that's going to be quite a challenge because it's like 20 feet deep. So that's one area we've got to concentrate on fairly early next year to get that underway.
So folks getting oriented, it would be the east side of where Meeting House Road is.
Yes, east side of Meeting House. Both sides of that road is pretty unstable material there,
right.
So we have to
get
rid of that material.
Excellent. So that's what you were referring to.
And right in that area too, there's some new utility locations, so we have to work around those people with that.
Now, how is that going to impact your ability to do that? What you were just saying, the alternating paths, if you will. How is that going to be impacted?
Well, there may be a point in time where we're working, the schedule, the plan the state has is we're going to build the whole west side first. But if it makes more sense, we may jump over in that area on the east side. We would just have to detour traffic over on that side. There'll just be a shift around that work area. Okay. So that's the only thing that's going to impact it.
Okay. Now, as I understand, so some of our discussions earlier, there's actually going to be some work done, I think, on Meeting House Road, was there?
Yes.
To allow some traffic to utilize Meeting House Road. Not utilize it as a bypass, but because of the amount of traffic that's going to be coming, you're going to widen that a little bit?
Yes, that will be widened. If you want to, we
Yep.
can go down here and take a look at that.
That's Meeting House Road right
That's
here.
Meeting House Road there. Currently, there's only one lane of traffic in each direction, but the plan will have a dedicated left-hand turn lane, as you can see there, in both directions. So that's going to allow for traffic to flow more freely through there.
That's excellent.
Yep.
Okay, good.
Yep.
So you've anticipated this. Now, the other question I think I mentioned to you earlier was there's a question about emergency vehicles moving through.
Correct.
How are you going to adapt for that?
So typically when there's an emergency vehicle that comes through a project site and we're impacting traffic, we'll have traffic control, whether it be a flagger or a police officer. Mm-hmm. And when that happens, the flaggers stop traffic and basically make access for the emergency vehicles to go through unimpeded.
Okay. And there's also going to be, is it Smart
Work Zone.
Smart Work Zone.
Yes.
Can you explain that a little bit so folks know what they're experiencing when they're coming through?
Yeah, so what they'll see is I think we are going to deploy 10 message boards throughout the region,
Okay.
not just locally here, but all the way out to the west side of 101A. And those message boards that we are going to put out, and also on 293, excuse me, they're going to be collecting data from the traffic in this zone, giving them information to tell them, hey, there's a delay through the construction zone longer than normal, and it's going to give the motorists an opportunity to make a decision to seek an alternate route if they choose to not go through the corridor.
So that information is actually sent.
It's sent there, yes.
So just so I can compare it, so when I'm going up 93,
Yes.
or Route 3, I'm going up Route 3 towards Concord,
Yep.
and that message board right by the Manchester Community College
Yes.
is there and says Concord, 12 miles, 11 minutes, and all of a sudden it goes 12 miles, 45 minutes. I used to think, oh, there's something wrong with the board.
Yeah.
There wasn't anything wrong with the board at all.
Nothing wrong with the board. No.
So it's getting messages that are sending in real time.
Real time. Yes, real time data. Yes.
That's going to be interesting.
It's going to be good, and we might deploy a new type of technology in here too to give us even better data than what we're currently accustomed to.
Okay. Now, and just so folks will know, remember, these are going to be located east of the project
Yep.
on 293 out in Manchester.
Correct.
And you expect to have them also?
Yes, also in our corridor as well.
All right.
Locally as well,
Okay.
yes.
Will it be off to the other side too? Will it be in Amherst for that traffic coming
Yes.
through?
Yep.
And the other place would be on Wallace Road. Anything out towards Goffstown maybe? Letting people know about that intersection?
I don't believe so, no. Not out in that direction.
Okay. All right.
Because they're not, people out in that direction probably wouldn't come through this way anyway, so we didn't put message boards out there for that.
Yeah, well, we'll have to see as we
will
go forward.
And we made provisions to relocate these as we see fit.
Excellent.
Because we
Yep.
can only anticipate so much.
Sure.
And if we need to make adjustments, we will do that along the way.
That's good to know.
Yes.
That's really good to know. How does this impact you? With the traffic, with that software that they have, how is that going to impact your construction folks?
It really doesn't affect us that much because we have to deal with the traffic that's there. Hopefully this information will direct a few people away from the project, which will help us, because the problem people may not realize, when traffic's backed up, our trucks are backed up if we're hauling material in or hauling material out, so that slows our operation down. So we want to do what we can do to keep traffic moving as best we can.
Excellent. And one of the things I think, Greg, we talked about earlier was we've got to be honest and let people know that they should start to think about alternative ways of how they might want to get to work or get home from work, because as you said, there's going to be tie-ups. There's
Yes.
no way of avoiding tie-ups on the road. So people should start to plan and not get excited about it, just plan ahead about how they might deal with that.
They should, and in reaching out to the public, they've all alluded to me that they say, well, I know how to get around, so I'm not too concerned about it. So I think a lot of people have already thought of it, which is good on their part. And that's why we deployed that smart work zone, to give them information to be able to make those decisions before they get here. So they're not coming along the corridor, they get here and say, oh man, now what, right?
Very good.
So that's a major part of the smart work zone, is to hopefully alleviate that. But yes, people should be planning to, there will be delays, absolutely.
Okay.
I mean, I would be foolish to say there's not going to be.
Excellent. Is there anything else the folks should know? Or were there any other questions that we haven't covered here today that people might have asked? Schools. How will the schools be impacted?
The school buses will be...
School buses come down, some of them cross 101.
Yep.
Some of them access their schools coming through a class. How will they be impacted? Will school schedules be impacted?
I don't anticipate that. There will be delays, but I don't think they're going to be delays that would really cause a major impact on a school bus schedule.
Okay.
I've worked on several projects where that was a concern, and 9 times out of 10, it's not an issue.
Okay. And I know the school system was involved in some of the earlier conversations.
That's great.
That you've had. I saw that.
Yep.
Anything else that we might have?
No, just work with us, and contact me if you have questions. If I know someone's upset and I can address their concerns, I'd love that opportunity. That's what we're here for.
Right.
We want this to be successful, and I think communicating with the public and the abutters and townsfolks, that's the best way to have a successful project.
Very good. And Jerry, anything that you can share with folks?
It's going to be a 2-year project, and we'll do the best we can to get it done. From our standpoint, the quicker we get it done, the better. So we'll work towards that.
Excellent. Excellent. Well, thanks. Again, this has been an open session here at the Bedford Public Library. It's been hosted by New Hampshire Department of Transportation. And we thank you very much for coming. If you were here today, we thank you for being here. If you weren't here today, we hope we've anticipated some of your questions. And Greg, Jerry, we thank you very much for joining us and being online on BCTV. And thank you very much, and we'll keep you posted as to how things are going. This is Dave Danielson on behalf of BCTV. Thanks for watching.